I was making coffee when my phone buzzed. It was a video message from Mrs. Langford, our old neighbour. I hadn't heard from her in years. Just her name on my screen brought back memories I thought I'd buried. The message was short. No greeting, no context, just one line. I'm so sorry about your parents. I can't believe what I saw today. My stomach tightened. I tapped on the video. It was a church. A familiar one, St. Albans, the same place where they used to take me for Christmas Eve services when I was little. The camera zoomed in slowly on two figures standing at the podium. My parents, my mother dressed in black lace and pearls dabbing fake tears. My father stiff and solemn, reading from a paper with shaking hands. Behind them, a casket, and next to that casket was my photograph, large framed flowers around it. I froze. No, my father's voice echoed through the phone. She was always a troubled girl, but we loved her. We did everything we could. My vision blurred. He was reading a eulogy, my obituary, though. She left this world far too young. We pray her soul finally finds peace. What I wasn't dead. I was standing in my apartment, alive. Breathing, shaking. This couldn't be real. I scrubbed the timeline back, played it again and again. Their faces didn't change. Their voices didn't shake from grief. They were calm, controlled, performed. I gripped the edge of the kitchen counter. My hands wouldn't stop trembling. What the hell is going on? I whispered aloud. Why are they doing this? I hadn't spoken to them in years, not since they cut me off. Disowned me like I was a stain on their reputation, but to hold a funeral to declare me dead. The more I watched, the colder it got. My mother mentioned how tragic my accident was. There was no accident. My father talked about my final years spent in isolation. I was working, living, surviving. They knew that they had to, so why were they doing this? I sat down slowly, the phone still playing. The video ended with the camera panning to the Mer's distant relatives, family friends, even my childhood piano teacher. They're all dressed in black, all believing that I was gone dead, and no one had even tried to reach me. I played the video again, just to be sure I wasn't imagining it. But the truth was clear. They didn't just erase me, they buried me alive. And in that moment, one thing became crystal clear. This wasn't a mistake, it was a choice. It wasn't always like this. There was a time when I believed family meant protection, loyalty. That illusion shattered 3 years ago, the day I was thrown out of my own life. Like trash swept under a rug, the truth. It wasn't me who stole the money, it was Eleanor, my younger sister, the golden child, the one who could do no wrong. She embezzled nearly $80,000 from our family's business account. She was reckless, addicted to a lifestyle she couldn't afford, when the numbers didn't add up and the books caught fire. Our parents needed a scapegoat, and I was convenient. I still remember the exact words my mother hissed at me in the kitchen. Better one ruined daughter than two. My father didn't even look at me when he said it. You humiliated us, you're no longer our daughter. The next morning, I was gone. No money, no explanation to anyone. Just silence. I tried calling, texting, I sent letters. Nothing. My number was blocked when I reached out to close. Family friends, they suddenly stopped responding one by one. Doors that had always been open slammed shut. I became a ghost, not just to them, but to the entire world that had once known me. Eventually, I did what broken people do. I left, I moved abroad, took a job in a cafe, changed my number, learned to live quietly. I didn't post online. I barely spoke my name, but even then, deep down, I held on to hope. Hope that someday someone, anyone would call, ask if I was okay, tell me it had all been a mistake that day. Never came. Instead, something worse did last year. I tried renewing my old email, but it wouldn't go through when I contacted support. I was told the account had been deactivated due to a report of user decease. My name had been marked as dead in their system. Officially, digitally, completely, They hadn't just disowned me, they erased me. I couldn't sleep that night. The video played on a loop in my mind, their voices, their fake grief, my face next to a casket. I'd never seen my own funeral without me. Something wasn't right, so I started digging. First, I called my aunt Rachel, my mother's older sister. We hadn't spoken in years, but she always used to sneak me candy at family reunions. She answered on the second ring. "Hello, Aunt Rachel. It's me, it's Maya. Silence then?" Click. She hung up. I called again, blocked. Next, I tried my cousins. One sent me a thumbs up emoji and never replied again. Another asked, "Is this some kind of sick joke?" No one believed I was me, except one. My youngest cousin Sam, the one who always looked up to me when we were kids. He texted back hesitant, "Maya, are you really alive?" "Yes, I need to know the truth." What did they tell everyone? The typing bubble blinked for a long time. Then they said you died in a car, crash overseas, 3 years ago. My stomach dropped. They had a whole story, said it happened while you were travelling, that it was too late to bring you home. Cremation, closed casket. I nearly dropped my phone. There had never been a car crash. I'd never even owned a car while abroad. Something in me snapped. I pulled out every document I had. Passport, stamps, rental records, immigration papers. I had never been in an accident. I had never gone missing, so I checked the Public Records Office online, and there it was. Maya Dekwa, date of death, July 16th. Cause, road accident status. Deceased certificate, ID, ARF, 91,327. They forged it. They made me legally dead. I stared at the screen. Frozen, this wasn't grief, this wasn't denial. This was a cover-up, but what were they hiding that was worth burying me alive? I should have stopped digging, but once you realise your own family buried you alive, you have to know why I found my answer in a place I hadn't looked in years. Elena's Instagram, she'd gone public again, and there it was, a glittering carousel of images, white roses, champagne fountains, a diamond the size of a small planet. Elena's wedding, everyone was there. Aunt Rachel smiling like she didn't hang up on me, my cousins clinking glasses, even great Uncle Theo, who lived in another country and never showed up for anything, but not me. Not one mention, not one photo, not even a wish Maya could have been here. Caption, I was gone, erased, like I never existed, until I looked closer in one of the photos taken at the reception. There was a speech in progress, a toast. Her husband stood smiling, and next to him, my father, holding a wine glass. Speaking into a microphone, grinning under the caption, to the one daughter who always made us proud. And there it was, the switch not just forgotten, replaced, curious. I searched the family business registry, a few clicks, and my blood went cold. The trust fund my grandparents had left for me, college startup money. Everything was transferred to Elena 6 months after my death. Legally, quietly, she didn't mourn me. She profited off me. I stared at her smiling face, white dress sparkling in the sun, and it hit me. My sister didn't just replace me, she erased me. Enough was enough. If they wanted me dead, they were about to see just how alive I really was. The next morning, I walked into a law office with a stack of documents and a fire in my chest. Passport, stamps, employment contracts, tax filings, lease agreements, flight records, proof unshakable, unforgivable. The young attorney across the desk looked stunned. You're challenging your own death. I slid the forged certificate across the table. I'm not dead, but I plan to haunt them. He blinked, nodded slowly. Then, we'll start with a fraud complaint and a motion to revoke the declaration of death. It'll take time, but legally, I don't have time. I cut in because, apparently, I have a memorial this Sunday. He looked up. I didn't. Flinch, earlier that day, a message came through from an unknown number. Just one line. They're holding a memorial for you next Sunday at St. Albans. No name, no explanation, but I knew the church. I knew the address it was real, and so was my plan. I stood at the window of my apartment that night, the city lights glittering below me like sparks waiting for gasoline. They dressed me in lies, buried me in silence, pretended I never existed. But now I had a stage. Let them grieve, let them cry, let them perform. And when the curtain lifts, let's give them a funeral to remember. St. Albin had never looked so full. Cars lined the street like a parade of grief. The heavy doors of the church stood open just long enough to let in mourners dressed in black, weeping, whispering, hugging each other like tragedy had touched. Then, personally, I watched from across the street, black coat sunglasses still invisible. It was surreal, like watching a play about a character who looked like me, sounded like me, but wasn't me at all. Inside the performance had begun. The organ played something slow and tragic. Candles flickered beneath my photo, the same one they used on the fake obituary. I remembered the day it was taken. I was smiling for real. Back then, my father stood at the pulpit. Face, solemn voice, just loud enough to carry. She was troubled, but we loved her. She lost her way, and though we couldn't reach her, we never stopped praying. She'd come back to us, my mother. Mother sat in the front row, dabbing tears with lace-trimmed tissues, like she'd practiced for weeks. Her sobs were delicate, perfect, and Eleanor. She stood next, pearls clutched like they were keeping her heart from falling apart. My sister Maya was complicated, but she was mine. I wish I could have said goodbye. A lie wrapped in a tear tied with a bow. I stepped closer to the door just enough to hear it. The priest raised his hand solemnly. May she rest in peace? I exhaled slowly. Not yet, the show was still going, but the main character hadn't arrived. Let us now stand for a moment of silence. The priest's voice echoed through the church like a final curtain call. Everyone rose to their feet, heads bowed, eyes closed, hands folded politely over hearts, and in that breathless pause, I pushed open the doors. The sound was sharp, deliberate too, heavy oak doors, groaning open like a tomb splitting in half. The cold light from outside poured into the church, spilling down the aisle like a spotlight, and I stepped into it, slowly, deliberately. Each heel strike on the marble floor echoed like a gunshot, click, click, click. The silence cracked open, gasps. A few people turned, then more. Whispers bloomed like wildfire. Is that it can't be, a child's voice, pierced the tension. Mum, isn't that her? I took off my sunglasses. Eyes met mine, wide disbelieving. Terrified, my mother's face went pale. Her lips trembled, then she crumpled a hard, theatrical faint. Her body dropped like she'd rehearsed it. My father's mouth hung open, wine glass slipping from his fingers. It shattered against the pew. Eleanor locked eyes with me and froze her jaw, clenched her pearl necklace twisting in her grip. A half-full glass of champagne tumbled from her hand and splashed across her perfect white shoes. The priest, stunned, took a step back. I kept walking, every eye in the building, followed my steps like they weren't sure if they were seeing a ghost or a reckoning, and maybe I was both. I didn't say a word. I didn't need to. My presence was the thunder after the LIE. The consequence they prayed would never come. By the time I reached the front of the aisle, the room was holding its breath. I turned, faced them all, and smiled. Let the truth begin. I stood at the front of the church beneath my own portrait. Thea, same photo they used to eulogize me to bear, bury me. I turned to face the crowd, dozens of eyes staring at me like I'd risen from the grave. Good, let them look. I cleared my throat once and spoke into the silence. I heard I died, but I'm here to correct the story. A ripple went through the room. No one moved. Some had phones in their hands, but forgot to blink, let alone hit record. There was no accident, no tragic car crash overseas, no closed casket because the body was unrecognizable. I pulled a folder from my coat, thick stamped, sealed with government marks and international dates. These are my passport stamps, my employment records, tax filings, apartment leases. I've been alive, I've been working, I've been surviving. The only thing I lost was them. I turned to my parents. They told the world I died, faked the documents, filed a certificate, and when I was legally gone, I turned my eyes to Eleanor, who stood frozen, fingers clenched around her pearls. They transferred everything to her, my trust fund, my inheritance, my life. Eleanor opened her mouth, tried to speak. I didn't let her. Don't enjoy the house you bought with my money, a murmur rose like thunder behind me. Someone whispered, she's got proof. Another gasped, and then a phone lifted, red dot blinking. Someone was filming good. Let the world see this funeral for what it really was, not a farewell, a cover-up. You didn't lose a daughter, I said, staring my father down. You threw her away, and now you get to watch her walk back in. The lies were ashes, and I had just lit the match. I turned back one last time. My father's face was pale, my mother still trembling in her seat. Eleanor hollow, defeated, no pearls to clutch. Now, you buried me to protect yourselves, I said calmly, but I came back to haunt you with the truth. No more shouting, no more lies, just silence, heavy, final, as I walked out. The church bells began to ring, how fitting a funeral bell, but this time not for me. Montage, I handed the documents to my lawyer, signed the final page, watched the death certificate get torn in half. My legal resurrection was official. An investigation opened into fraud. False reporting and embezzlement, let them try to lie. Now voice over steady and quiet. Sometimes you have to die in their world to be reborn in your own. And this time I wasn't coming back for forgiveness. I was coming back for freedom.